Angie Rupert, founder of Rupert Law Group. We handle exclusively E2 and E1 visas, so no matter what treaty country you're from or where you want to be, we can help. So today we have a very special guest. This is Fronte, who is a commercial license agent with insurance marketing agencies. Right, Frank?
That is correct. Angie,
Yes,
thanks so much for having me. How are you?
I got it. Great to have you. I'm fantastic. Thanks. And it's great for you to be here. We're super excited to have you because Frank, as we just talked about, is an insurance agent. So what does that have to do with E2 visas? Well, it actually has a lot to do. We always recommend for your real and operating requirement, which we have other videos on if you want more information on that, but insurance is a really important piece for that, particularly the type of business, right, Frank? There are some businesses that it's really crucial, even outside of immigration, really crucial to have commercial insurance. Yeah.
Absolutely. No. And really for all businesses, I mean, we're now at this point with inclement weather, the big thing now with the insurance industry is cyber liability, even restaurants, because they're, containing so much private information of their, sometimes of their clientele, but really their employees, social security numbers, bank account information, even a basic cyber liability policy on top of your commercial general liability is crucially important now. And it really doesn't matter. I know a lot of E2 businesses, and E1 businesses for that matter, are single operator or just sole proprietorships, but it really is crucially important, especially when you're doing your application, that you are covered for your liability, your cyber liability, and your contents. My goodness, if you are spending money on a build out of a restaurant or even just your personal belongings, you want that covered as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that's funny. Frank and I talked for just a few moments before we started this morning just about the United States is a little bit different sometimes than other countries in the world of, we have lots of lawyers and we ruin everything, I tell you. And as a result, we have a lot of litigation, right? And so any time that you're kind of embarking on this journey in the United States, it's not a scary place. It's an amazing place, but this is just something extra that maybe in your home country is not as important, but in the United States, it's really crucial. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. First of all, Frank, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can handle people who are moving to any state in the United States, right? As far as insurance goes.
Absolutely, yes. We're licensed for all 50 states in the U.S. and absolutely, and just to also, from personal experience here, I am Canadian as well. So I know a lot of your clientele does come from Canada. I know probably a lot of Canadians watching this. I'm from the GTA. I'm from Toronto, a Toronto kid born and raised, now here in Massachusetts. So enjoying my time here. Yeah. I've done the e-visa process, and I certainly understand the struggles and the triumphs, but it's a great experience. And certainly I wish in the beginning I had as the community that I have now, because it's so much easier to kind of bounce ideas off individuals like yourself, because it can be daunting, but it's certainly a lot of fun. Can't hurt.
I agree with you. There's a lot of steps in the process, but as we always tell people, we just take it one step at a time. We just go step by step and get all the way through it. But let's talk a little bit about the different types of businesses. So as you know, there are many different types of businesses in the world of E2 and E1. People ask me all the time, which is the best? And I say, whatever you're the most interested in and is legal. Other than that, they're all the best, right? So anything can get approved if you meet their E2 visa requirements. So I think insurance, and we talked a little bit about this, certain policies are important for every business, but there are some businesses in particular where it's just essentially mandatory, not only, again, for immigration purposes, which help meet your real and operating requirement, but just because it's just necessary. In the United States, there's really no way around in certain businesses. So let's talk a little bit about that. So first of all, maybe one that doesn't come to mind for some people, but is really, really important is any business where you're going to have customers or clients come to you, right? Where you have a location where customers or clients are coming in. That's going to be really important, right? Frank, tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So any kind of physical location, you want to ensure that you are first have what's called a commercial general liability policy. Now, I should kind of backtrack a bit. Let's say hypothetically your E2 business is a small retail operation, a convenience store, and this is a sole proprietorship. You don't plan on having employees, but it may be an operation where it's a husband and wife, and you're just coming here for the E2, and you're not planning at this point to have employees. Even in a situation like that, you have a high volume of clientele coming in. Most businesses such as that could be covered under what's called a business operator policy or a BOP. Simply, we call it in the industry a BOP, a business operator policy. In that BOP, in that business operator policy, is kind of like a whole sort of different coverage that protect your business basically. So we have your liability insurance, your third-party liability insurance, your contents, business interruption insurance. So it's all kind of packaged together in that policy. Now, once you get into a slightly larger business, then we start looking at individual lines. So then we kind of start with the liability insurance again. If an individual comes into your operation, slips and falls, injures themselves, and you're all of a sudden now sued for $500,000,
which
that
happens.
Liability policy will kick in.
It happens.
And it does happen. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yep.
Yeah.
Surely does.
And I do want to, reinforce this because I think a lot of individuals who do apply for E2s or who are interested are first-time entrepreneurs. They've not dealt with this before. And I think that's one of the unique things about the visa process is that individuals who come from Canada or various countries don't have business experience in their home country. So they come to the United States, a foreign country, not really knowing the laws too well, not really having a great network of people that they can call upon, and they're first-time entrepreneurs. So the word even liability insurance or the expression just doesn't it's not something they understand. They don't understand the need for cyber liability. They don't understand why contents insurance is only covered for certain things. So it does beg that, individuals do contact us, people like yourself, people like myself, so we can guide them on their journey.
Yeah. And I think that, and as I always tell everybody, and in fact, we just kind of mentioned this, but there are a lot of steps in the E2 process, and there are a lot of steps in starting a business. But here's the good news. Everything could be step by step. And when you talk to people who kind of specialize in certain things or have a lot of information, they can kind of handle it for you, right? You don't have to know everything about liability insurance. You don't have to know everything about trucking insurance or insurance for commercial vehicles versus personal vehicles or umbrella policies, whatever. All of these exist for sure, and all of them can be useful. But the important part is just knowing you need insurance, calling someone who has a lot of experience in it, they can kind of handle it, right? So that's
Absolutely.
the great news. And one of the things that we really focus on here too is we don't have all the answers for everything either, right? We deal with the immigration portion. We help you put applications together. We deal with Canadians and those from countries all over the world all the time. But there are so many different steps along the way. So our goal is to introduce our clients to people who can help them with the individual steps to put that whole application together. And so that's why you're here today, Frank, to give us a little information about insurance, but not all the information about insurance. Nobody needs it. You have it, so they can call you and you can kind of work it out, right? That's the good news. So we talked a little bit about physical spaces, right? And as you mentioned, a lot of people maybe don't understand that piece, but yes, there are slip and falls. There are all kinds of things. Lawyers ruin everything. That we know. And then commercial vehicles. So there's trucking, right? Which is a whole other beast. However, that's mandatory. And we can talk to people who are involved in the trucking industry or want to get involved in the trucking industry about that specifically. But there's also commercial vehicles, right? Which could be different than trucks. So commercial vehicles are another thing, right? You have 2 or 3 vans. We just were talking about a client of ours who did mobile detailing. You have 2 or 3 vans with all of the detailing accoutrement. You've got 2 or 3 people driving around all day, every day. Somebody gets into an accident. Eek. That's where a commercial policy comes in for vehicles, right, Frank? That's something that you've also dealt with.
Absolutely. No, we absolutely can deal with that, and certainly have a lot of experience with commercial vehicles of all types. Dump trucks. Recently, I had an individual who's starting a construction business for an E2
Yeah.
visa,
Yep.
and they have a couple of dump trucks. They're going to be hauling gravel to various job sites, and we'll likely be hiring on a driver as well. So there's a lot of steps in that process. Certainly want to make sure that not only are you covered for the actual truck, but certainly again the third party liability and anything that goes along with the operating of your business.
Yes.
Certainly as well, even if you are operating a trucking business or a construction type business, the likelihood is you may have a physical location as well, some sort of office that you're
Mhm.
leasing. So again, there's other various types of policies that we do have to add into this equation as well.
Job sites.
Mm,
Even one of your employees falls on a piece of rebar.
yeah.
Yikes. Whatever. Not to mention, people probably don't know that construction defect is its own area of law. Like, it's a big
Yeah.
one, right? And those come years after projects are done, years
Mhm.
later. So within the world of construction, there's going to be several layers, right, of insurance. Um, Commercial vehicles, anything where you have drivers or you're driving to things, whatever, because it is different than personal. Sometimes even if it's your personal car. I don't want to
Yeah.
get too into the weeds here, Frank,
That's
but there's a
weeds.
lot there, right? There's a lot. So with that said, and as you said, even if let's just say you have a marketing company, right?
Mhm.
You deal with clients mostly over Zoom or what have you. You're doing a lot of stuff kind of from your office, but it's maybe just you and a couple of employees. Clients don't come to you. You don't have a product, whatever. There are still some even smaller policies. And like you said, some of them are not that expensive and it's not that big of a deal, but it's going to make your life a lot simpler if something goes awry and you just kind of never know when that's going to happen, right?
Absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
and certainly, even if again a small single operator business, a marketing agency, such as that, where it's a very common business to have when you're coming on a visa. Again, you do want to make sure that your liability insurance is covered there, because if
Mhm.
you are sued for not properly fulfilling a contract, we now are talking a lawsuit that could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it could bankrupt you. And this is within the first few years of you being in the United States. So even if you're Canadian or from another country, you're not going to escape that. You will have to kind of face that litigation. And again, it can be scary, but certainly it's why we recommend, even before the application process begins, get yourself insured, get yourself even a very general a business operator policy, whether it's through myself or other agencies that are local, because you want to make sure you're protected for at the very least a few $1 million in liability coverage for situations such as that. Again, even a very basic commercial general policy will cover what's called advertising injury. Again, it's kind of an odd expression, but if you're by chance defame someone on social media, or again, don't provide service that you should have to your clients, these are things that can be brought against you in court, and you want to make sure that you're very well protected.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because you're investing a lot of money in this business,
Yeah.
whatever your business is, right? And you want to make sure that you get to keep it. But from our perspective, our meaning Rupert Law, we're just happy to have you meet that real and operating requirement, and an insurance policy is a great way to do that. So not only, hey, 2 years down the road, you should be insured, but you should be insured at the time of application. It helps with some of the E2 visa requirements,
Yeah.
but it starts everything off on a good foot. You kind of get here, everything is in place and you're really ready to go, right?
Absolutely.
So that's what we like. So Frank, we will have some contact information for you kind of at the end here. Obviously, if you have any questions for me or for Frank, you can contact either one of us. We can always introduce whatever you need. And please feel free to reach out anytime. We'd love to speak with you about your E2 visa.